All right. Welcome, welcome. My name is Ryan Knight. So I do wear a few different hats, but one hat that I wear is we co-founded a nonprofit called the Afro Caribbean Business Network. So when I was talking to some other nonprofit leaders, they're like, we never really get to talk to each other, and especially about different funding that's out there. So we put together this weekly, I don't know if it's conversation or like walk through, but as I find grants and stuff in my everyday journeys, I'm going to be coming on each week to share what I found, and also the application that we wrote so you could use it as a template. Ones that are successful will let you know, but feel free in the chat to put in the name of your organization, curious any projects that you're working on, or the website so that we can follow along, or the Instagram. And then I'm also going to put in a link to our new, I'm trying to build out this school community nonprofit leaders forum. So all of these workshops, walkthroughs, grant funding sessions that we do weekly, I'm going to put in there so that if there's a specific grant that we touch on, I'll try to name it as best I can so you can just refer to it. But yeah, this will be kind of our walkthrough conversation space each week. And so the school community is very bare. I have not posted in there yet, but it will be where I upload these. And the main reason that I wanted to show this, and I'll show you what I do each day. So each day, as I'm looking for different grants, I have this running directory or list of all these different organizations that we've either gotten sponsorship from, that we've gotten grants from. It's just, and we even have a funding spreadsheet that I try to keep as up to date as possible. If you do not have access to this spreadsheet, feel free. I think it's this site. No, I think it's grants. Let's see if this works. Yes. So I'll put this into the chat. Awesome. So yeah, so this spreadsheet, it pretty much, I try to keep it as up to date as possible, but it does include like for-profit grants and nonprofit grants. These sessions on Tuesdays is going to be specific to the nonprofit journey. So if you're looking for support with a for-profit business, we'll probably do either alternating weeks, or we'll find another day, because usually we do them on Wednesdays. So I'll see when we're gonna start back those. But the Tuesday one for now is going to be focused on nonprofits, and mainly because I do a lot of research around like foundations and pitching directly to foundations. Actually, this is the old spreadsheet. Where is the new spreadsheet? So this spreadsheet, we've been doing a lot of research on like all these different foundations and who's at these foundations and how to connect with them. And so as we go through the list, and then we find, oh, you know what, this foundation reached out, or this one responded and said they focus on XYZ, we shortlist them. And then if we get funding, we confirm. And if they say no, we're not interested, this like is our team's daily ritual. So as I go through these, the ones that we're successful with, we put them into this folder. And then I always put different templates and stuff in here. So I say all that to say, when we come across something that's interesting, I put it into the folder, and then we create a draft for it. And I'm going to use these sessions each week to share with you what I found and the draft that we wrote. So the first one is, came across this Max Bell Foundation. So let me put this into the chat so that you can see the folder that I'm talking about. And then in the folder, Oh wait, that's not even the first one I found. There was another one I found first, which was the counseling. Yes, let me find that one first. Because the counseling, oh, Counseling Foundation of Canada. So they shared that they put together this letter of intent template. So now, if you work with youth that are trying to get employment, it would be good for you to know about the Counseling Foundation because they have open times throughout the year. I think they said they do it twice, 2 or 3 times, where they accept grants that will help career advancement for youth. So this is something that I had never heard of. So the Counseling Foundation of Canada. I'll put this link into the chat as well, so you have it. And so this one I'm actually still working on because we're going to put together. I was looking through their website to see how best we can, like what synergy we have. And I noticed because they do career advancement for youth, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are typically trying to hire people. So trying to work with them to be kind of a bridge where if we got grant funding, we can then do the training with the youth and then actually place them because we have the entrepreneurs that need it, and we do the hiring grants in partnership with job skills, so the entrepreneur would get a grant to hire the person that we just trained. So that's what I was working on for this one, but I was thinking it might be interesting for you as well, especially if you work with youth in the community and are trying to get them jobs. This Counseling Foundation of Canada, they do grants for that. So this letter of intent, I downloaded the sample of it, but I haven't started working on it just yet. So when I do, it's gonna come into this folder. So I'll put the folder in the chat as well. You can check it out. All right. But the other one, which I did do, which is this the Max Bell Foundation. So if you've never heard of the Max Bell Foundation, let me see if I can grab the email that the lady sent to me that had their website in it. I feel like these are things that we need to know. So where did it go? Oh no. Oh, here we go. So thank you to Arlene who responded, but they have a website here. Oh, here is my share screen. All right. And I'll put this link in the chat as well, because typically there's a lot of work that we do as nonprofits that we should be advocating for and getting actually policies written at government for the work that you do. But a lot of times we don't, one, have the time, definitely we're not funded for it. And this foundation actually funds that type of work. And they take in applications on a rolling basis. So they check letters of intent every week. And so this is a page, and I put it into the chat. Let me make sure I put it in the chat. Yes, that if you're working, if you have a nonprofit that already does the community work, you can get a grant to advocate for the work that you do to government so that they can actually create policy changes. So this type of funding I did not know exists. I knew, I guess, in concept of it that it probably is out there, but never knew how to apply or who does this type of funding. So we came across the Max Bell Foundation, and they do this work. So if any of the work that you do, and you can do applications outside of these priorities, but these are the ones that I would say shortlist you because it aligns with what they're doing. But if you're doing any work in education, any work in health and wellness, any work in the environment, or you just want, you're improving civic engagement, they will give you a grant to pilot a project and use that project to advocate for to the government at all levels of government. So I shared with you the folder, and in the folder, we actually started writing. Where did I put it? We started writing some of these letters of intent to give you an example. And if you've been following my Friday night podcast, The Night Owl, you'll know that I have become addicted to using the AI platform Claude. And Claude helped us with these two templates. Actually, let me see if I can find what I wrote. I think it's this one. Okay, so I asked Claude, I was like, based on what you know about ACBN, what would be a perfect fit for this grant from the Max Bell Foundation? And then based on their funding priorities. So it was able to look at the website, and then I asked it to give me 5 options for projects that we could submit. So now it let me know. So they typically fund for 1 to 3 years between 10,000 200,000. They'll fund between 30 to 60% of the total project budget. And so it came up with 5 options. So option 1, closing the gap. Forming small business support. Came up with bridging the BEP, so the Black Entrepreneur Program. So evaluating the program and their delivery model. And then it came up with option 4, entrepreneurship as a social detriment of health, policy pathways for Black business owners. And then option 5, so data driven decisions, building a national Black entrepreneur data infrastructure. So option 5 kind of already exists with the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, which it's interesting that Claude realized that this is important, that data needs to be collected. So I told it, because it talked about it ranked options 1, 3, and 2 as the strongest. But I asked it to write out the full letter for options 1 and 2 while weaving in elements of option 4. And they have another page where it talks about kind of the FAQ of when you're applying for funding. So, like before you apply, what to be made aware of, different FAQs. So, I included that in the conversation with Claude as well. And then it came up with these two options. Let me see if it pulls it up here, or I'll go to it. So yeah, so it took the closing the capital gap, so creating the community-based micro lending, and then also the letter of intent number 2. So from assessment to access. And then what it talked about with the social determinants of health, because our microloans tracks the return on investment with dollars put in, how much community impact does it actually have, essence of that is in both of these. So this is where you could definitely write a grant yourself from scratch. I always say let AI be the first draft, because all of this that it wrote is in our heads. But when we want to start branching out and raising more money from more different players, you want to give AI the information about your organization and then ask it to do the first draft. Because it probably would have taken me 2 hours to just write this out. It was able to put it together. I took about a half an hour. And then now I have 2 options where I'm going to send this to my contact at the Max Bell Foundation and say, you know what? These are the 2 ways that we feel we could work closely with your foundation's priorities. What do you feel would be stronger? And then we can do like a full letter of intent for kind of the direction that we get from Arlene. So this is where, as we find more grants to write, I'm going to start putting more of these templates in here. So I was curious if anyone else has thought of doing like grants for research or advocacy. Before I go to the next grant letter of intent that's available, yeah, just curious if there's any questions so far. I know I just kind of jumped right in, but happy to. Oh, I do see a question here. Do you find that grant approvals are okay with using AI? I think about it like school. Does getting that help deter them? So it definitely will irk grant reviewers if your full application is just copy paste from AI. But what I've noticed is that we still get funding from people that we've sent full AI applications in. And a lot of times, because I wouldn't have got the application in if I didn't have help with the writing. So I wouldn't stop you from applying to a grant just because you wrote it with AI, but I would encourage you to edit it as much as possible. So you see these two letters of intent that it did. I was able to go in and then add a lot of the data and, like, okay, what do we experience? Surveys that we've done. So you want to give it your flavor, but don't let the act of writing slow you down, because doing it yourself it definitely takes a lot longer and you can get a lot more done by using the tools. But if you just rely on the tool, then yeah, if it comes in and it's just copy paste and it looks similar to what somebody else has put in, loan reviewers or grant reviewers, I've noticed when I talk to them, they're like, yeah, if we see it and it's too fluffy, then they just shut it down. But is that kind of what you're thinking, Tisha? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions before I continue on? Let's see. Oh, is it in the chat or do you want to unmute and ask it? Let me see. It's in there. Uh, is it this one? I work with a lot of nonprofits, but I'm wondering if nonprofits apply to charities as well. Yes. So there are many charities that their whole, especially the foundations, they take in money and then they typically have to disperse. I think now the threshold is like up to 5% of their endowments need to be granted out. So this is where really understanding what foundations do, because something like this, the Max Bell Foundation, a person of wealthy means creates this foundation to do a specific thing in the community, but we're never really told what this foundation does. Yet, if you do the thing, you can get the money. So it's like we have to, and hey, there's like 86,000 charities, but that's why our list is really curated to foundations that grant out or are looking to do impact investing with their endowments. So one thing that ACBN, and I'm learning this as we go. So there's like two streams. So a foundation, let's say the community foundation. So different cities have community foundations. So they have an endowment that they invest for, um, they call it like donor advised funds. So people park their money at the community foundation to say, hey, can you invest this for me so that you can grant for me? So now the investments go into one pool and the interest from those investments become grant dollars. So now typically we only hear about those grant dollars where it's like, oh, every so often the Brampton Community Foundation, they'll do a granting call and they'll invest, let's say 5,000 or 10,000 at a time, whereas they have an endowment with hundreds of millions of dollars that they also want to invest to create interest. So we need to create more vehicles for the bigger pot of money to be invested into, but they typically don't invest in very risky things. This is why we have to get really good at building infrastructure that doesn't look risky. And again, I'm still learning this, so it's not like I haven't figured out. But what we did with our microloan program is now we can talk to a community foundation and say, hey, would you be willing to invest some of your endowment into our community fund? It's going to give X percent. And also, would you grant us operational dollars? So I just call it like the evolution of nonprofit. We shouldn't only be looking at grant dollars. We should also be looking at investment dollars because the pool for that is a lot bigger. So yes, charities typically have money to grant out, but they also have money to invest if we know how to get to, if we have something that they can invest in. All right, let me just check. Okay, I got those two. Yeah. So if any other questions pop up, feel free to throw it in the chat. But I did want to share. And it might have been sharing my Zoom screen, so I hope it wasn't doing the infinity thing. The other one that's coming up is the Youth Opportunities Fund. I saw an email from them that said letters of intent are going out. So let me see if that is accurate. Yes. So it's due next week, it looks like. So this is where, again, in our folder, let me see if I can find the one that we did. Uh, yes, we've done different. So this Knighthood Academy one, that was successful back in the day. And then we had another one. So this one, oh, this might, was I doing, I think they did this video walkthrough of it. Uh, this is the submission. But why am I not seeing the other one that we got approved for? Yeah, the Black Youth Entrepreneurship Innovation Space. So this was one, I'm pretty sure. What year is this? Yeah, I need to put this into that folder. Folder is it in? It is in that folder. So why wasn't I seeing it? Odd. Anyway, so this folder with YOF, I'll put into the chat as well. If you want to see some old submissions, some were successful, some were not. Give you an idea of kind of how to structure your applications. But this grant was one of the first bigger ones that we had gotten. So I always encourage people to apply, even though it is difficult. I still say it's worth going through the process because after you apply to the Youth Opportunities Fund, that becomes a really good template that you can use. One, to train your AI better on what you do exactly so it knows what you do, but also for any other grants that you find, this application is really the blue because it asks all the questions about the project that you're running. So you want to use it to then apply for other grants as well. Let's see. They did say, I don't think any webinars are coming up. Let's see. Oh, that's for organizational mentors. Yeah. So I think they already had their last ones. Understanding expression of interest. When was this? Oh, that was February. Okay. So yeah, deadline's next week. So that's coming up. And you might be able to book a coaching call because it's always good to talk to them and just find out, let them know about your project. So they do still have openings because that way you can kind of give them a sense of what it is that you do, how it supports youth in the community, and then they can let you know if you're on the right track. So they have open slots. So I'll put this into the chat as well. If you want to book time to meet with the team at the Youth Opportunities Fund. So because I got the email that it's due next week, I was like, let me make sure people know that so that you don't miss these applications. And one thing with the Youth Opportunity Fund test grant, you do have to have, it can be a youth adult partnership, but the majority of the team does have to be youth under 30. So it's something to keep in mind. For the other grants, like the Youth Opportunities Fund Systems Innovation Grant, which actually I think already passed, and the family innovations, those can be adult led, but the youth innovations test and scale does have to be youth led. So I'm pretty sure the systems innovation grant, yeah, this one's closed. And let me see the family. So the family innovations grant is open as well. So you can send your expression of interest. But the Youth Opportunities Fund and Ontario Trillium Foundation, the timelines for when you do your application to when you get funding is really long. So I wouldn't rely on this funding because you could even see expression of interest open February, closes April 15th. The deadline for the actual application after you get selected from your expression of interest is July 8th. And then, oh, it doesn't even show when. And typically it takes like 4 to 8 weeks. Oh, look at that. Decisions approximately 8 weeks after the deadline. So projects start November 1st. So this is where you want to get ahead of your planning and your budgeting so that you know, hey, if I apply for this now, it's going to start helping in November and beyond. And it is multi-year, so it is something that I would encourage people to go for because it can solidify your funding for up to 3 years. This one's up to 100,000. I think the test one is also up to 100,000, but then their scale grants goes up to 150,000, and the family innovation scale grants also goes up to 150,000. So you can get either 100,000 or up to 150,000 per year for 3 years. So we always encourage people to apply for these ones. All right. So those are the main two. I want to see which other one did I find today that was of interest. Oh, there's two folders with this. That's why it wasn't showing. Yeah, this is the one that was successful. So let me put this link into the chat if you want to review it. We'll put it there. All right. So, as I said, those are the main grants that I found this week that I wanted to share. One thing that we started doing is helping nonprofit leaders with their full like data room and governance. So, if you ever need that support, we have it now. But every week, I pretty much love to just share what I find. So, yeah, if you don't need specific consulting support, just pop in each week. You can ask questions and I'll share with you different templates that we've used. And I did put into the chat the link to the um the grant spreadsheet that we created. So let me put that again. I try my best to keep it as up to date as possible. And now that we're doing so much more research into foundations, the spreadsheet is pretty bare right now, but I'm going to update it with the other spreadsheet that I showed you that had a lot more. It's kind of our prospecting spreadsheet. So as we find people's contacts, I'm going to update the funding spreadsheet soon. So that's kind of my homework for this week. But yeah, I do appreciate people popping in, but happy to answer any questions that might pop up. Or next week, what grants are we working on this week? So we're continuing with our foundation research. So let's see who's in the shortlist. So we've been able to touch base with like the Catherine Donnelly Foundation, the Peter Gilgan Foundation, the London Community Foundation, and the community foundations is one that we definitely have to tap into more because I think there's over 100 of them across Canada. And so within Ontario itself, if your work is based in Ontario, actually, let me see if Claude knows how many community foundations are there in Ontario. many movie foundations are there? All right. So while that searches, because these are foundations that support a lot of different projects, but like I said, they also have endowments that they're able to. Oh, it made it a list. That's the list. 43. So if we're able to connect with each one of these foundations and let them know about our work, and could you do that work in the city that they operate in, you could open yourself up to a lot more funding. And the one thing I love about connecting with community foundations is once you connect, you can then let other potential funders know that this foundation is backing you. So just having conversations with them, we've been telling our future funders like, hey, we're already talking to Hamilton Community Foundation and we're talking to London. So they want to hear what we have to say. So I think it opens up the door for more people to listen to you. So we have to build up a lot more of our credibility from those that we've already worked with. So that's something I'm also learning. But yeah, I'll pause there, see if any final questions before we wrap for tonight. But like I said, please do join the school community. This is where I'm going to be putting all this information that I find after this downloads and renders. I'm going to upload and I'm going to describe, or oh my gosh, I'm going to title it with the different foundations and types of grants that we were looking at, so that each video you'll know what type of grant the video is about. So we'll be able to create a whole directory of these videos with different grants that we're finding, because I can't believe how many foundations there are. Just the ones on our list, I think the ones that we haven't found contacts for is about 106. And the ones that we did find contacts for, we're at 462. And the ones that have shortlisted so far, we've shortlisted 35. And we've gotten confirmed funding from, how many are green? One, two, three, four, five. Five so far. And we're far along with, what's that? West and Hamilton and Laidlaw. So three, we're getting close, but not sealed the deal yet. But yeah, piece by piece, we can raise a lot more money. So everything that I find, we shall share here each week. I thank you for spending some time with me. And if you do have any questions, feel free to email me as well. I'll put my email there, but I'll also be in that school group. I'm going to start posting and putting resources in there so that, hey, if you know any other nonprofit leaders that might benefit from different grants that we're finding or templates that we're putting together, please invite them to the group and we shall continue to chat in there. All right. Question: how responsive are you on email? I am more responsive here in person. So if you have a question, catch me while I'm here. Email, I mean, yeah, by the end of the day, I typically get through my emails. Thank you. Will these links be in that group as well? I'm on my phone. I'll try my best. In some form, they will be in there because the folder that has all the different grants that we find, and then the templates will be in the group. So yes, eventually they'll get in there. So if there's something that I mentioned that you don't see in the group, remind me and then I'll put it in. But yeah, I'm gonna take everything that the video talked about and then put those resources into the group as well. Oh, okay, Tisha, if you send it now, I'll definitely respond. So yes, you got me at a good time. But again, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the night, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Otherwise, we'll chat in the group. But thanks so much. We'll see you. So